أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. And as I had mentioned in my post the other day, that we'll be practicing on weekends, and on every weekend I'll be releasing a short review video that would summarize all the concepts that we had studied during the past week. So this video is the first video that summarizes the concepts that we have learned in the previous week. Alright, so without further ado, let's just get into it, inshallah. And before we begin, let's ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us out, so and make it easy. So Rabbi Yassir wala tuqassir wa tammim bil khair. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Alright, so in the previous week we had begun our discussion by uh, a few basic topics, of course, because we had just embarked on this journey. So the very first thing was about the alphabets, and about some of their grammatical aspects, such as the difference alif between alif and hamza. All right, so the difference was, if an alif doesn't have any harakat on it, it is called as alif, alright? But if I put any harakat on it, such as a dhamma, a fatha, or a kasra, it becomes hamza. Okay, it is called as hamza. Besides, we also covered that this letter hamza may either exist on its own, alright, for example, in jaza'un, or it could be having some chair, alright. So for example, it could be on top of some other letter. For example, it could be on top of wow, or it could be on top of another letter, alright. Similarly, it could also be on top of your yaun. Okay, so all these are situations where we can say that the hamza needs a support. Alright, so that's just an easy way to remember this concept. That's it. Alright, so after that, after the alphabets and the vowel sounds, we started off with the division or the classification of words in Arabic. So the words we did were classified into three groups. Alright, and the first one was harf. They are the ones that are meaningless on their own, but whenever they are joined or they are written beside a fail or an ism, they impart meaningful meanings. Okay, so meaningless on their own, but impart powerful meanings when with some other fail or verb or an ism. Alright, the second one was fail. It's simply the tenses. Alright, it must it must indicate whether an action has been taken place in the past, in the present, or is going to take place in future. Okay, so tense must be included in order for a word to be a fail, and we are going to cover these indications or these flags if you want. So these flags would be covered when we move on to fail, inshallah. All right, and finally we learned about ism. Okay, and right now we are on ism, and we are going to cover ism first. We're going to cover the ism individually, all right, and then how it forms little clauses, all right, and then inshallah the sentences, and after that we are going to jump to fail. All right, so let's elaborate on ism. All right, so ism is divided into three types, three subcategories, and the first one is called munsarif. The other one is called ghair munsarif, and the third one is called mabni. All right. So munsarif, there are 3 points that I would like you to remember regarding all three of these. First of all, munsarif is the uh, munsarif alfaz or the munsarif asma are the ones that form the bulk of Arabic asma. All right, so about 80% of the asma that you're going to come across are going to be from the munsarif group. Then this ghair munsarif group forms about 15%, and the remaining are mabni. Okay, so munsarif it forms a major bulk of the asma. All right, now the second point that I want you to know is and remember is that the munsarif asma in their singular form always carry a tanween. And what's a tanween? It is the double harkat, or the sounds, or the harkat that give the n sound at the end. So the double dhamma would be un sound, the double zabar or the double fatha form would be unsound, and the double zair would be the in sound. Okay, so we have kitabun, kitaban, and kitabin. All right, so this is called tanween, and we have an implication of this tanween which we're going to review in a couple of moments, inshallah. All right, so all the munsarif asma in their singular forms always carry a tanween, while the ghair munsarif and the mabni asma never carry a tanween. Okay, no tanween. All right, what's the third point that I want you to remember? The third point is that here the rafa form is different from the nasab form, which is different from the jar form. Now, what were these rafa, nasab, and jar? Well, you can watch the lesson, which is 3B, all right, to get here it is. Okay, so you can watch lesson 3B if you want to get an elaboration on it. But briefly, I can tell you that there are two situations for an ism to be in rafa form. These are just the roles of an ism. Okay, and rafa is usually the file, the doer of an action. Okay, and it's also uh, the state of the default state of an ism. That's the rafa, and it ends in this un sound. Okay, so this un sound, this double pesh, is the characteristic flag, all right, of all the rafa asma. Then this double zabar is the characteristic sound for the nasab or nasab configuration, and there are about 11 situations in which an ism can be in nasab form, and the most common one is the one that we covered actually, is if an ism gives any kind of detail regarding anything, regarding an action, all right, then that becomes a maf'ul or any kind of maf'ul. Okay, because it answers the details of what happened, where did it happen, why did it happen, how did it happen, on whom did it happen, how much and how many, and all these things. All right, so all these things are your details. All right, so if an ism is a detail of any kind, it becomes nasab. All right, so it ends in unsound. There are 10 more situations that we are going to cover step by step, inshallah. And finally, we touched very briefly on this in sound, which is the sound for the jar configuration. So and we still have to study this. Okay, so I'm not going to spend much time because there's nothing to review for this jar configuration apart from the fact that it ends in sound. So if I were to say kitabun, it's the rafa form. um, Kitaban, it becomes the nasab form, and kitabin becomes the jar form. That is it. And this entire rafa nasab jar forms are, it's called Arab. Okay, all right. So now we have very briefly reviewed this rafa nasab and jar. If you have by any chance missed this lesson or would like to know more details, just go to lesson 3b. All right, and you'll be inshallah ta'ala clear about this topic. All right, so rafa nasab jar. All right, so these rafa nasab jar forms, as we have observed here, kitabun, kitabun, kitabin, they are not equal, they're not similar to each other. Okay, so rafa is not equal to or is not similar to nasab form, and it is not similar to jar form. However, in the ghair mabni or ghair munsarif asma, what happens is that the nasab and the jar forms are similar to each other. All right, so nasab and jar are similar to each other, but it's not similar to the rafa form. Okay, so for example, if we have the word masajidu, which is the plural of mosque, so we have masajidu. Notice there isn't any tanween, so we have masajidu, masajida, masajida. All right, it is not masajidi in jar form as it would be expected, but it would be masajida. All right, and that's what makes it ghair munsarif. All right, and finally in the mabni group, what happens is that the rafa form is similar to nasab form, which is similar to jar form. So we have words such as, for example, kubra, 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 or musa, musa, musa. See, there is no change in the structure or the ending sound, or there isn't any kind of change at all. All right, so that's what is meant by mabni asma. All right, so we are done with the types of ism. Okay, in the next section of the review, we are going to cover the remaining topics because we have done this, all right, which is types of words. Okay, so we have revised the types of words, we have done types of ism, all right, and we are going to cover these 2 points in the next lesson. We have done well, we have briefly touched on the subject of the rule of twos for rafa, nasab and jar, okay, and how they are different from each other. And now we are left with the review of these 3 points. Okay, so this would be covered in the next review video, inshallah. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Quran al Hakim. I'll see you in review part 2.